Kosho Niwano, and I am grateful to have this opportunity to speak about my book, The Buddha in Everyone's Heart. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Duncan Williams, Professor and Director of the University of Southern California School of Religion, and Dr. Lori Meeks, Associate Professor of Religion and Eastern Languages and Culture here at USC. I want to thank especially the Center for Japanese Religions and Culture, of which Professors Meeks and Williams are a vital part, and to thank everyone who has worked to make this day possible. When I was a child, I wanted to become a doctor or work for the United Nations. In either case, my wish was, in the spirit of the Lotus Sutra, to make a contribution to human happiness and to world peace. I had such a dream because before my very eyes, I had a wonderful role model, my grandfather, Niwano. My grandfather was born in 1906 in a small hamlet in the mountains of Niigata Prefecture. He first encountered the Lotus Sutra as a young man. In 1938, at age 31, he founded the Buddhist organization Rissho Kosei-kai because he had an earnest desire to truly liberate people from suffering and to build a better world. He was certain that to do so, he must spread the true spirit of Buddhism found in the Lotus Sutra, which he made his earnest mission. Thereafter, he wholeheartedly took refuge in the Lotus Sutra and devoted himself to practicing compassion. He had an unflagging passion for peace and devoted his life to world peace until 1999, when he passed away at age of 92. I was born as the granddaughter of founder Nikkyo Niwano and grew up in the same house with him. My grandfather himself studied the Lotus Sutra and lived according to the Dharma. When he left the house, he was a teacher of the Dharma, but at home, he never assumed airs of importance. He always walked according to the teaching of the Lotus Sutra, so he never got upset, and his mind was always perfectly tranquil. At the same time, though, he had a fervent desire to bring happiness to as many people as possible through teaching of the Lotus Sutra. When I look back upon my grandfather's life, I see that it was not simple or easy, as he underwent many trials. Still, deep down inside, he always believed in the existence of the Buddha, and therefore he was always full of joy. When I was near my grandfather, I always found that the feeling I liked most, the feeling of pleasing others, would well up inside me. That's why I loved to be near my grandfather and loved to hear him talk. Rissho Kosei-kai is a lay Mahayana Buddhist organization. The Lotus Sutra, with its one Buddha vehicle teaching, belongs to Mahayana Buddhism. Its major distinction is the goal of bringing liberation to all people, not just to monastics. Furthermore, the Mahayana idea of liberating all people is not reserved for specially designated leaders, as everyone can assist in the liberation of all humanity. For example, I am a married woman, the mother of 4 children, and an ordinary housewife. I am no scholar of religion or expert of Buddhism, and I am certainly not a nun. But I can lead the life of a bodhisattva by making use of the true spirit of the Lotus Sutra. I take as my purpose in life to pursue the Buddha way, and thereby to contribute not only to the happiness of each person right before me, but to world peace as well. Therein lies the real value of Rissho Kosei-kai. Simply put, I hope to become an expert at applying the spirit of the Lotus Sutra to our lives. My belief is that this variable teaching leads people to liberation precisely because anyone and everyone can put it to use in their daily life. Following my grandfather's example, I decided to try to live the verse of the Lotus Sutra as written. There were certain terms and phrases that, until that time, I had only thought of as abstract concepts. But once I started living by the words of the sutra, I felt that these words had been spoken to me by the Buddha. I could interact with people with greater warmth in my heart, and problems that seemed difficult solved themselves. Through such experiences, little by little, I came to grasp the entire Lotus Sutra and expand my understanding of it. When the founder was asked to sum up the teaching of Rissho Kosei-kai as briefly as possible, he promptly replied, "Attaining Buddhahood." When I heard this, I wondered if I would ever be able to experience any part of such a distant, enormous goal. At that time, one passage of one of the founder's texts flew up before my eyes. Quote, "It was on the morning of December 8th, just as the morning star appeared in the sky, when the Bodhisattva's mind was as clear as the breaking day, that he at last attained perfect enlightenment. From that time on, his ability to look at all things was different from that of ordinary people. He was able to perceive clearly the ultimate reality of all things, unhindered by superficial phenomena. He had gained the eyes of a Buddha. Upon attaining enlightenment, he said, 'Wonderful, wonderful! All living beings possess the wisdom and the virtuous sign of the Buddha.'" Close quote. In other words, Founder Niwano went on, when Shakyamuni looked upon the world with the eyes of the Buddha, everything had changed. Human beings, animals, and plants all appeared to be shining with light and as worthy of respect as the Buddha himself. This description is from Founder Niwano's book, Shakyamuni Buddha. At the moment of Shakyamuni's enlightenment, in his eyes, all existence appeared to shine with light. In other words, he now had eyes that saw all things shining with light because he had become Buddha. Founder Niwano teaches us that the Buddha wisdom, which sees all reality as it really is, means being aware that the people we see before us are worthy of respect. Being able to see all existence as worthy of respect, phrased differently, is showing reverence for the Buddha nature. The chapter called The Bodhisattva Never Despise, chapter 20 of the Lotus Sutra, tells a story of a monk who did not read and recite the sutras, but who only reverently put his hands together before the arrogant monks of his time and everyone else he encountered. For this reason, he was called Never Despised. He himself was despised, ridiculed, criticized, and persecuted. Finally, because of his practice of bowing in reverence, he succeeded in attaining Buddhahood. In this story, Never Despise sincerely believes that no matter whom he meets, that person certainly possesses the potential for Buddhahood. This story shows us the importance of a firm belief that everyone will become a Buddha. It also shows the importance of asking ourselves whether we are capable of the same belief. Founder Niwano's commentary on this chapter notes its important lessons for us. First of all, we should realize that revering the Buddha nature is the basis of Bodhisattva practice. This is particularly important. The founder tells us also that instead of only making a logical argument, we should apply it in practice. To wit, we need to believe that all people actually do have the Buddha nature, and we need to perform the practice of revering their Buddha nature. This practice of revering the Buddha nature is the most important theme informing the founder's view of Buddhism, the Lotus Sutra, and humanity. Generally speaking, the Buddha nature means the essential nature of a Buddha. The Buddha nature can also be interpreted as the manifestation of the four limitless states of the mind and heart of Buddha. The first is loving kindness, desiring the happiness of others. The second is compassion, desiring to alleviate the suffering of others. The third is sympathetic joy, being joyful because of the happiness of others. And fourth is equanimity, accepting loss and gain as equal. Revealing the Buddha nature may sound like something extraordinary, but everyone is capable of such thought and action. If even one of our thoughts and actions manifests the Buddha nature, then we can feel the Buddha nature working within us. In even a minor encounter in our daily life, we can find and place some tiny action or expression. This tiny window letting in a beam of light is a manifestation of the Buddha nature. We and others can thereby become mutually aware of the Buddha nature in each other, and through these contacts, we can further awaken our own Buddha natures. We can verify this teaching by looking into the Lotus Sutra by reason and in our practical experience. I set out to demonstrate these three kinds of verification in this book. I collected several concrete examples of how the Founder's words liberated people. Then, bearing in mind the logical interpretations in some of the Founder's books about the Lotus Sutra, I looked for the evidence in the Lotus Sutra. Finally, I saw that Founder Niwano's thoughts and actions matched the Bodhisattva never despises practice of reverence. However, I had doubts and wondered why we should revere the Buddha nature. We say that all people have the Buddha nature, but no matter how much I focused upon the Buddha nature, in reality, there were some events and some people who made it difficult for me to believe it. At such time, I would remember how the Founder would always say, "It's all right, it's okay." I could not understand why in such a world of contradictions he could say, "It's okay," or how he could revere all kinds of people. While I was thinking about this, one day it suddenly occurred to me that the reason is that we all start out from contradictions. We say that all living beings have the Buddha nature, but we are all imperfect. We are called bodhisattvas, but we make mistakes. This is who we are, we human beings. Our imperfect existence can be brought closer to the mind of the Buddha through the various encounters of our lives. I realized that this is what the Buddha wants us to do. When I had this thought, I could feel the valve of the eternal Buddha warming my heart. In this world of contradictions, if we are to discover the Buddha nature, that is the light shining forth in every person, then we should start by acknowledging that everything that happens is an expression of the vow of the eternal Buddha. Similarly, when the Founder said, "It's all right," he was expressing the essence of the Lotus Sutra. Therefore, from the two angles of the vow of the eternal Buddha and revering the Buddha nature, I decided to re-examine how the Founder's words and the Founder's actions liberated people. The result is this book. The eternal Buddha means Shakyamuni Buddha as the Dharma body, that is, the personification of the eternal truth permeating all things, the truth to which the Buddha awakened. This truth is life-sustaining, active, and dynamic. Rissho Kosei-kai's focus of devotion is the eternal Buddha Shakyamuni, and we take refuge in the Lotus Sutra. On the basis of the teachings of the Lotus Sutra, we place our faith in the eternal Buddha Shakyamuni. Our living model is founder Niwano. Therefore, we should teach others about spiritual liberation just as the founder taught us. Skillful Means Chapter 2 of the Lotus Sutra clearly states the one great purpose for which Buddhas appear in the world. The Buddha appeared in the world with a single goal, which is to make human beings attain the Buddha wisdom. Chapter 16 of the Lotus Sutra, The Eternal Life of the Tathagata, recounts the vow of the eternal Buddha in these words. How can I make living beings attain entry in the unsurpassable way of the Buddha and quickly reach the same level of enlightenment? Therefore, the Dharmic practice of Rissho Kosei-kai, which has made the eternal Buddha its focus of devotion, should not simply be to remove suffering and anxiety, but to make use of them for liberation. We should adjust ourselves to pick up the wavelength of the Buddha's vow, and no matter how small a matter or no matter how great the trouble, the most important thing is that we seize every chance to awaken, every opportunity to become Buddhas. Rissho Kosei-kai's Dharmic practice is based on an understanding of faith in which everything, even pain and suffering, is put to good use toward liberation. I would like to tell you a story from my childhood. At our house, we began sutra recitation every morning at 6:30. One morning, I overslept, and when recitation was almost over, I came rushing in, still in my pajamas. I thought I had really done something wrong and sat quietly behind everyone else. But when my grandfather noticed me, he praised me, saying, "You made a big effort and came running to try to be on time. What a great attitude you have." Instead of asking me why I had come in my pajamas or why I was late, he only praised me. His kindness filled my heart with a warmth beyond words. Of course, after that, I did not think I could be late for recitation or show up in my pajamas. I only thought that I should try harder not to be late, and that even if I were late, I should never give up on recitation. His gentle words made me feel that my own existence was already imbued with something of value and worthy of respect. Of course, he did not praise me simply because I joined the recitation though late. He did not focus on the event, but rather on the mind of the living person. This event became the opportunity for the Buddha nature within me, of which I was still unaware, to be drawn out of me like a dove suddenly coming out of a magician's top hat. Ta-da! This event that could have become a minus instead was put to good use as the cause that enabled me to happily walk the way of the Buddha, gain awareness of my blessings, and cultivate my own spiritual riches. Founder Niwano was a master at turning anxiety into confidence, a failure or a tough situation into an opportunity, or the pain and sadness of life into the cause to pursue the Buddha way. When the rice was undercooked and tough, he would say, "It's good for the tea." When the rice was overcooked and mushy, he'd say, "It's good for the digestion." When we recited the sutra together, he'd happily say, "You recite at a good pace." He didn't offer praise because the rice was perfect, or because I was good at recitation, or even because he wanted to give me encouragement. He praised everyone because he himself was always pursuing the great vehicle bodhisattva spirit of the Lotus Sutra that reveres everyone. We often say that things will be fine because we are all sustained by the vow of the Buddha, and we all are being guided toward liberation. However, people who are suffering may not know that they are being liberated. Indeed, because they do not understand this, they are suffering. Therefore, in their present circumstances and in accord with their wishes, we must make true the liberation of the persons before our eyes in the midst of phenomena happening to them. When we can, in the present circumstances, make liberation a reality in connection with the vow of the Buddha, phenomena change. The Lotus Sutra teaches us that encounters are the causes enabling us to become Buddhas, just as the Skillful Means chapter says that they cause the seeds of Buddhahood to sprout. The principle of causation is generally understood to mean that a good cause brings about a good result, and a bad cause brings about a bad result. However, the viewpoint of the Lotus Sutra is that everything that happens is actually a cause of becoming a Buddha. This reminds me of a woman who served as a leader at one Dharma center, who really loved spreading the Dharma and was always running around helping people. She had a teenage daughter who had been refusing to go to high school for some years. This woman believed that by doing good deeds for other people, her family would receive many blessings, among them that her daughter would definitely start going to school. So from early in the morning until late at night, she was always on the go. But over and over again, the daughter would start going to school and after a short while stop. Because the mother was busily performing good deeds, she took it for granted that the source of her problem lay elsewhere and sometimes placed the blame on her husband. But her daughter's truancy problem persisted, and she came to have harsh feelings toward her daughter. One day, the Dharma Center minister asked the woman, "What do you like to do best?" "Spreading the teaching," she replied. "Well then, what do you dislike most?" "Housework." I don't do very much housework. Hearing this, the minister said, so you are basically doing what you like mother, like daughter. The mother's thought was that her daughter was selfishly not going to school just because she didn't want to, while she herself was performing bodhisattva practice for the benefit of others. How could the two of them be alike? When she went home, she asked her daughter, "What grade would you give me as a mother?" The daughter immediately replied, "I would give you a 0. Naturally, the mother lost heart, but resolved to do better and get better marks from her daughter. She began devoting more time and attention to the girl, coming home earlier and giving more time to doing the housework she disliked. Day by day, the daughter started giving her better marks, 5 points, 20 points, 40 points. One day, the woman asked her daughter, "What about you? What grade do you give yourself?" Her daughter replied, "I get the same as you. When you get 0, I get 0. The mother suddenly realized that her good-for-nothing daughter actually possessed the same acute sensitivity as her minister, whom she admired greatly, and who had said, "Like mother, like daughter." "This girl is really something," she thought to herself. It was the first time she had really thought anything like this about her daughter, and indeed, she felt that she had come into contact with the girl's Buddha nature. From that moment onward, wherever she was, her daughter was never far from her caring thoughts. Because until then, she had been a distant mother and had never really had such thoughts before, she was also happy to discover that she had such warm feeling inside and felt her own Buddha nature budding into bloom. Around this time, a cousin came to visit and said to the daughter, "If you want to go to college, you first have to graduate from high school." The girl did not seem to react to this, but the following day, she suddenly started attending classes. She never missed another day of school. What brought about this turn of events? The Buddha wants us to discover the Buddha nature in others. When this happens, a change of heart triggers a change in that person's reality. There is a limit to what humans can do. We cannot make other people change as we wish they would. And it is extremely difficult to solve every problem. The best we can do is create good encounters and have a positive effect. When we become able to see the Buddha nature in others, we no longer need to change people or solve problems, because we now see everything as opportunities for our inner light to shine forth. I think that if people who are distressed or suffering search for the reason, they will find that it is somehow linked to causes. However, to assume that every problem only requires an explanation of its causes and results would leave no room for liberation. We cannot change the past, And if we only think that because there was such and such a cause, then there must be such and such a result, then we have lost sight of the way to liberation. If we see that everything is a cause, encouraging us to learn how the Buddha is at work in our lives, and can clearly be aware of the existence of the Buddha, then we will find liberation in the midst of our present suffering. The founder's example of practicing reverence for the Buddha nature, his respect for all life, was also directed at people outside Rissho Kosei-kai. Because he himself embodied the one vehicle spirit, he advanced on the path of harmony between people, friendly relations among religious organizations, better rapport between religion and society, and interreligious dialogue and cooperation. In 1965, Founder Niwano was invited to observe the Second Vatican Council. Pope Paul VI told the founder, "I know of your work to promote interreligious cooperation, and it is wonderful. We need to overcome differences of faith, pray together, and respect one another." These words were a great source of strength, supporting the founder's beliefs. In 1968, he met leaders of the Unitarian Universalist Association. That meeting marked the beginning of the founder's pilgrimage for peace, as he flew around the globe, making a positive approach to religious leaders, political leaders, and officials of the United Nations. In 1970, the First World Conference on Religion and Peace, now called Religions for Peace, was convened in Kyoto. Although interreligious cooperation goes on worldwide today, this conference at that time was called a miracle of humankind, since it was extraordinary in terms of content and size. Founder Niwano always wanted all of us to join him in his bodhisattva work and devotion to the bodhisattva ideal. He addressed all members of Rissho Kosei-kai Sangha as follows. Bodhisattvas embrace a lofty, distant ideal of bringing real happiness to all humanity and building peace for the whole world. Bodhisattvas are people of action who accumulate one by one actions that make that idea a reality. Isn't that the case with the Bodhisattva never despises practice of revering the Buddha nature in all people? Let us all endeavor to do what never despise did. All of us are living lives that are part of one life, the life of planet Earth. We are put on this planet so that we can make all people happy. I have no special powers, but I want to lead a life that answers the founder's call to action. Thank you very much.